Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Hope you guys had a good night tonight. If this is your first time watching me, if you don't know who I am, my name is Shook. I cover NBA, I also cover a bunch of other stuff. All these videos get posted right here on this subreddit, um, where you can talk strategy with people. You can ask me questions before lock, stuff like that. Um, I'll always be there to answer your questions, so check that out if that's something you're interested in. And then if you ever need to get a hold of me privately, you can do so on Twitter at Tory Langley 1992. So let's go over my lineup from tonight. I haven't really been playing of late because I've been very sick, but played today. I didn't have Steph Curry, and that's why I didn't cash. So if I go Steph Curry over Fox, what is that like? How many fantasy points is that? 74 freaking fantasy points. What would that have been? Add what 45? So like let's just say 290. Would easily cashed. Easily. So mistakes were made. Um I mean, do I feel bad about not going Steph Curry after he just dropped 75 fantasy points? Absolutely. But do I feel bad about playing Fox over him for cheaper because he fit my lineup? No, I don't. But yeah. Sole reason I didn't cash today. The core did great. Jalen Brunson did great. Core play. Malik Monk did great. Core play. Josh Hart did fine. Core play. RJ Barrett broke the slate. He was a core play. So core did great. I just needed Steph Curry over De'Aaron Fox there. So didn't cash tonight, but got a pretty good 2-game slate for tomorrow that we'll go over right now. So Joel Embiid is doubtful. I don't expect him to play here, but we'll go over both scenarios, if he's in, if he's out. So, if Joel Embiid is in, I think he's a fine tournament play. Nobody, and I mean absolutely nobody, is going to play Joel Embiid tomorrow if he plays because the knee injury, and also because you have Jokic at basically a similar price tag. So, I like him for tournaments if he plays, just for the sole reason that absolutely nobody is going to play him. Similar upside to basically everyone on this slate. Similar upside to Jokic. Now, it's I believe it's his knee that it's been bothering him in the past, so it's definitely caused for a bit of concern. But I'm always fine taking shots on low end spend ups that have 60, 70 fantasy point upside at no ownership. So that would be the reason I go to him, is just simply absolutely nobody will play Joel Embiid. I think Harden's still solid, even if Joel Embiid's in. I think 8-8 is still a pretty good price tag, even with him in. Not going to be a priority for me, but I'm not going to go out of my way to play James Harden, but I still think he'd be a pretty solid play, a pretty solid cash game play regardless. And then I don't think I'd really go to anyone else. I think Maxey would be overpriced. I think Harris would be overpriced. Paul Reed would be out of player for me. D'Anthony Melton's going to lose a ton of minutes. I'm not playing PJ Tucker. So for me personally, it would really just be Joel Embiid, James Harden at the top for me on the Sixers side. But assuming he is out, which, like I said, I don't expect him to play here, I think James Harden looks phenomenal. If they want any chance of keeping this game close, James Harden is going to have to absolutely do everything for this team. He's going to have to stuff the stat sheet. He's going to have to score the ball. He's going to have to play huge minutes. He's going to have to absolutely do everything here. So, James Harden, I think, looks phenomenal, assuming Joel Embiid does not play. And then I like Maxey. I like Harris. I mean, these guys, they're going to average over a fantasy point per minute. With Joel Embiid off the court, I expect close to 40 minutes for both. So just do the math. If they just go with their season averages with Joel Embiid off the court, they're going to project for I don't know, let's go median. They're going to project for I don't know, 35 to 40, which at their respective prices is kind of what you're looking for with upside. So Tyrese Maxey, Tobias Harris both look like very good plays to me if Joel Embiid is out, along with Harden. And then we're going to have to monitor what they do with the starting lineup. So I'm not sure what they do. I know Doc Rivers has said in the past that he does like Paul Reed against small ball lineups. But they also could just go with PJ Tucker at the 5 and match Paul Reed whenever Time Lord's out there. So really 50-50 for me on what they do with the starting lineup, but we'll go over it both ways. So Paul Reed starts, I'd definitely feel better about its minutes here, and I think we'd get around 30. He's a good point per minute guy. I think he'd be a pretty good play. Now you have Al Horford for around the same price tag. I think it'd be pretty close to me on which I prefer, but both are would be pretty good plays to me. Just really good point per minute guy. They're going to want his defense out there, so if he starts, I'd feel much more confident in him. If he doesn't start, I'd still think we'd get probably around 20-ish minutes, which still make him in play at 5-3. He probably wouldn't be owned at all, and maybe, just maybe, he could close and play a bit more. So I still would have interest in Paul Reed as a low-owned play at 5-3. Now, if he comes off the bench, obviously, he does seem a bit overpriced, but I assume he'll be very low owned if he does come off the bench, so would have interest for tournaments. And then if they start Tucker at the 5, that means I would Tucker's viable regardless. I don't like playing PJ Tucker, but he is viable. But that would mean DeAnthony Melton would slide into the starting lineup. If he starts, he's the best value play on the slate. Even if he comes off the bench, I still think he's a really good value. If Joel Embiid's out, I think we get mid-20s minutes regardless, possibly more if he starts. Solid point per minute guy, So, yeah. If he starts, he's the best value play on the slate. Even if he doesn't start with Joel Embiid out, he's probably still one of the best value plays in the slate. So, really like DeAnthony Melton, regardless of if he starts or not. And like I said, PJ Tucker's viable. It's absolutely disgusting, but he's viable at 3.7. It's just not... I hate it, but viable. And then you're probably going to see some McDaniels, you're probably going to see some Niang, but I don't think it's enough for me to go there in my one lineup. If you're playing 150 lineups, sure, you could get like 5% McDaniels or Niang. I think that's okay, just because if Niang does hit his shots, they will extend him at times, but not fun at all there. Let's go over Boston. So, Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown, they're all going to play close to 40 minutes. So, Tatum, Brown, I think are both a bit too cheap. I think Tatum, Brown both look very good. Tatum has the higher floor, higher ceiling. Jaylen Brown's cheaper, has a lower floor, but kind of a similar ceiling. So, pick your poison kind of there. But I think both look pretty good to me. And then I like this mid-range once again. I don't understand why Draftkings refuses to price these guys up. I don't understand it. I really don't. So, Marcus Smart, Derek White, Malcolm Brogdon, all very good plays to me in the mid-range. I assume Malcolm Brogdon will be the most popular just because he's the cheapest. He's the most productive of the three. He will play less minutes of the three, but he'll be the most productive. He's the cheapest. He's the easiest to get to because of price, so I think he'll be the most popular. But very good play. Derek White, Marcus Smart. At times, sometimes they'll close with Brogdon, and one of these guys will get X'd out. But I think we'll get probably over 30 minutes or around 30 minutes for both these guys. And I think both are still too cheap in my opinion. So, like Smart, like White, like Brogdon. And then, I don't think people understand this, but Horford, obviously this game was an outlier, but that Atlanta matchup with how Boston was running their offense against Atlanta was just absolutely atrocious for Al Horford's production, especially scoring the ball. This matchup is much different against these Sixers, and it's going to help out Al Horford an absolute ton. So I think Al Horford might be a diamond in the rough tomorrow, specifically matchup-wise speaking, and how I think his production is going to be different in this series. I have a feeling he'll be a little bit popular. I think he'll be popular, but I do really like Al Horford as well at 5.2K. Just super safe. And like I said, I think this matchup just fits him much better. So I really like this mid-range for Boston. Robert Williams at 4.8K. Minutes-wise for him, up and down. I don't think they need him as much in this series, or at least tomorrow. So I think we get like around 20 minutes for him. He's viable. Like I said, I'm fine with him as like a last man in. Not someone I'm going to go out of my way to play, but like a viable option. Didn't really see any Sam Hauser. I believe we saw some Grant Williams. I mean, your guess is as good as mine on what they do. I'd assume they'd go back to Grant Williams, but really just like large field tournament play, in like 150 lineups, stuff like that, kind of like Niang, kind of like McDaniels. I'd sprinkle some in, but not in my one lineup. Definitely not going to go there. On to Phoenix. So the really good thing about these guys, and we saw it in the first series, is they're going to play their main guys, that being Booker, Kevin Durant, 45, 44, 45 minutes. So the floor with Kevin Durant is just absolutely insane right now. He's a lock pretty much to give you like 45 fantasy points. His floor, his ball handling is great. Obviously, we know he's solid rebounder. He's going to stuff the stat sheet. Going to play close to 45 minutes. So Kevin Durant looks like one of the better pay-up options on the slate to me. Devin Booker, if you want the higher ceiling, and you want to go for it all, I'd prefer him to Kevin Durant. If you want the higher floor, I'd go with Kevin Durant, but I think both look like very good plays to me. Chris Paul at 7-1 was really bad last game. Maybe that'll keep the ownership down on him, but he'll also play close to 40 minutes. Obviously, usually has a pretty high floor, although KD in this offense does hurt his production a little bit. Just a fine play. I'd rather just pay the extra $900 for Jamal Murray, so just fine for me. And then DeAndre Ayton at 6'2", if he can stay out of foul trouble at this price tag, I like him a lot. I think we get 35-ish minutes from him. 6'2" is too cheap for DeAndre Ayton, in my opinion. As long as he can stay out of foul trouble against Nikola Jokic, I think he blows this tag out of the water. So I do like Ayton quite a bit. They started a Koji last game. I don't know if they do that again. They still closed with Craig. So for these two guys being a Koji and Craig, I'm not sure what they're going to do. I will say I think we get at least 15 plus minutes for both. I guess maybe to me it's just I'd prefer who's starting, but even then, Koji started and Craig played a bit more. So both are viable. I think, not standouts to me. Like I said, I'd rather play Melton. I'd rather play Bruce Brown, stuff like that, but that's what the field's going to do. I think they're interesting pivots off Melton, off Bruce Brown, stuff like that. So, and then I have no idea what they're going to do with this backup five. They went to some Landell. They went to some Biyombo. You saw Damian Lee get some run. You saw Campaign DMP until the blowout. So I really have no idea what they're going to do with the rest of the bench here. So I'm not going to go to any of those guys. All right, on to Denver. So Jokic looks phenomenal if you can find the money for him with the value. I mean, the floor plus ceiling combo with him is just absolutely fantastic. As long as the game stays close, he's going to play huge minutes as well. He looks great. I have absolutely nothing bad to say about Nikola Jokic. I also think Jamal Murray looks great. His production in the playoffs has been absolutely phenomenal. His ball handling has been very good. His potential assists have also been pretty good. His minutes way up. He's just been great. His price is still too cheap, so I really like Jamal Murray. Point per dollar, I do prefer him to Jokic, but I love both the top guys here for Denver. Michael Porter Jr., Aaron Gordon. I prefer MPJ to Gordon, but both are fine options for me as like a last man in. Like I said, if Embiid's out, I'd rather play like Tyrese Maxey. I'd rather play Tobias Harris as at a similar eligibility than these guys. But both fine options as last man ins for me. I'll try to go over like who I like more than the others at the end of this video. And then Bruce Brown, the other one, who I think is going to be pretty popular tomorrow. I think we get at least 25 minutes for him. Looking at the rotation last game, played some of the fourth, lost minutes due to the blowout. Looks like he was going to close the game until they got pulled. KCP got the bench. So I think Bruce Brown's the safer of the bunch. He can also stuff the stat sheet too. So he looks like a very safe value. Probably the second best value play on the slate. And then KCP more of the tournament option between the two, but does have a ceiling when he's hitting his shots. Still a fine value to me, but has to hit his shots to reach value. And then I don't think Braun, these guys will get enough minutes for me to really consider them. So let's go over like pivots and stuff like that on who I'd rather play. So I think I'd rather play Jokic to Embiid. I think I'd rather play KD and Booker over Tatum. One of those guys. Even though I think Tatum's going to be very popular tomorrow. Could be wrong there. I'd obviously rather play James Harden to Jaylen Brown. I'd rather play Jamal Murray over Chris Paul. I'd rather play Tobias Harris and Tyrese Maxey, I think, over Ayton. I'd rather play Tobias Harris, Tyrese Maxey over MPJ, Aaron Gordon. I'd rather play Ayton over MPJ and Aaron Gordon. I'd rather play Derek White over Marcus Smart. I'd rather play Al Horford to Paul Reed if they don't start Paul Reed. If they start Paul Reed, I'll reevaluate there. I'd rather play Brogdon over Robert Williams. I'd rather play Brogdon over Bruce Brown. Like I said, when I said Bruce Brown was the second best value play on the slate, that's kind of like under the 4.5K range. I prefer Brogdon to Brown straight up. I'd rather play Bruce over KCP. Rather play Brogdon over Rob Williams. Rather play Melton over Craig and Okogie. And I think Jeff Green will play like 15 to 20 minutes, a fine value, but he's horrible. And I think that'll do it. So ranking these spend ups for me, it's tough. So Jokic is the clear 1A if you're going above like 9.9K. I guess above Tatum. It's clearly Jokic. And then James Harden, clearly number 2 for me, point per dollar. And then for me personally, I think one of Kevin Durant or Booker I rank ahead of Tatum. But like I said, I have a feeling Tatum's going to be pretty popular tomorrow. Like I said, it could be wrong there. And then, like I said, I'd rather play Jamal Murray point per dollar over most of these spend ups, to be honest. So yeah, hope this helps with the you guys help. Hope this helps you guys build your lineups, and I will talk to you guys. Oh, if Discord is something you're interested in, I'll have a link to that down below. And I hope you guys have a great night.